Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the KBEAR Ormosia. This is their latest offering, a 1+1 hybrid, centered at around the $95 to $105 price bracket, and a different product in the sense that in terms of design, something more unusual has been used by KBEAR, and it's welcomed. I like seeing that usage of creativity. Anyway, this is the box. A little bit like a small little sleeve. It then opens up. Well, it will open up sometime in the next hour or so. There we go. And as is very much the usual packaging of KBEAR, the IEMs came over there. The tips are not the usual KBEAR tips that come with their IEMs. They seem to be of lesser quality, to be honest. These are very much the standard KBEAR tips that you find in the cheaper offerings, and we don't have here the typical 07 range of tips that come with the Aurora and with other KBEAR offerings. Anyway, it is what it is. In terms of the casing, it's the usual nice case that they offer, pretty decent. It's nice. And as for the IEMs themselves, this is where a certain amount of novelty is now present. It's to be worn facing down. Okay, it's not difficult to get the right fit. You just need to get it the first time, and then it's fine. I'm using, obviously, as you can see, KBEAR 07 tips. The cable, I would have liked a nicer cable, to be honest with you. It's not that it's bad, it's just very thin, and a slightly improved cable would have been nice. Let's put it that way. Okay. Again, I don't want to kind of seem like I'm being too demanding or anything of the sort, but I just would have liked a nicer cable. It's using MMCX connection, as you can see. Pretty secure, pretty decent. Okay. And yeah, the fit with these tips, personally, it isolated pretty decently, but you get a sense that they can fall quite easily, and I guess it's because of the fact that they have to be worn the way that they have to be worn there. So the cable doesn't go around the ear, it just drops straight down, and no, it is what it is. That's it. The colors, there are two colors available. I've got this red one, which I think is absolutely stunning. Very nice. And yeah, well, that's it. In terms of its looks, ergonomics, and so on, I think enough has been said. What about, just focus this up, what about who it faces or who it doesn't face, and what can we compare it to? Well, I usually do not like to compare hybrids with single DDs and so on and so forth, and I've tried to keep that as well present in this review, but I tried to get IEMs which have a similar sound to this, and IEMs which are available at the same price, and IEMs which are cheaper. Okay, the TRN TA1 Max is probably the IEM that comes the closest to the Ormosia. It's a 1+1, uses a 10mm driver as well, beryllium coated, and the overall sound signature of this is actually quite similar to the Ormosia. Both of these are relatively, I wouldn't say dark sounding. They have an emphasis on the mid bass more so here than on the TA, but they've got very similar sounding, and the price here, the TA wins by a huge margin, because you can get the TA for about $55. So there's a significant difference in terms of price. Obviously, in terms of its well, shape and fit, it's again a different type, but you know what, it actually doesn't fit badly, and once you got the right tip, you know, things just fall together nicely. The other IEM, or the other two IEMs that I chose are, and one is the ST5, and you might be asking, oh, but this is a OnePlus 4, why are you comparing it? Well, I'm comparing it because this costs $65, so a little bit more than the TA1 Max, and it's a fantastic little IEM. I would say that this is for TRN very much what the AS16 Pro is becoming for KZ. The AS16 Pro, although plagued with that issue of the impedance and needing an adapter to actually get the maximum performance out of it, or the ideal performance out of it, let's put it that way. The truth is that it sounds good. It sounds really good. It's got a nice engaging sound that does nothing really wrong, and you can't really complain for the $50 odd that it costs, for the $68 that it costs roughly. And this is the same thing for what this IEM costs. There is really not many fingers that I can point at it. There isn't. Okay, there's a little bit of BA timbre, fine, but it's more than acceptable and more than bearable. The bass is very good. It's clean, it's detailed, it's got, I mean, unquestionably, like I mentioned in my review of the ST5, this is the best one in the sequence of the IEMs that TRN has been giving us over the years. You know, V80, V90, V90S, VX, VX Pro. This is unquestionably the best one. It's the best tuned. It's got a nice, proper, solid build. And for the price, I thought it just made sense to compare it with the Ormosia, and you'll understand why in a few minutes. And finally, the one that costs probably about the same as the Ormosia is the GS Audio, the GD3C, the OnePlus 2. So almost very similar to the Ormosia in terms of driver count and philosophy, and it's one of my recs in the let's say $100 price range for a hybrid. Definitely this the GD3A as well. It's our older brother. It's an equally amazing IEM. This one's improved slightly over that in that first one. And yeah, so what is the sound of the Ormosia like? Well, the sound of the Ormosia is, as I said, very much mid-bass focused. Yes, graphically it might not impress, and when we get to the graph section, you'll understand what I'm saying. You know, you look at the graph and you're not very overly impressed. You see a relatively early roll off into the sub bass, and emphasis on the 100 200 area, 100 200 hertz area, somewhat of a bleed into the mids, and then it's got this awkward peak after the initial pin again, it's around 4K. There's just certain things about the graph that you know are not exactly, let's say, the right ones, or there could be some I would say that they would be red flags is a bit of a strong word, but anyway. But the truth is that when you actually listen to it, and listen to it on its own, let's put it that way, it's a fun IEM. It never offended me in any way. Yeah, I never found the Ormosia to be an IEM that I said, oh my god, let me just yank this thing out of my ears. No. It's actually a fun IEM to listen to. It's although it's seemingly relatively easy to power, I found it using obviously a little DAC amp or dongle or something did improve upon it, and especially if you use a brighter sounding one. You know, like something if you use, for example, a TK2 or a BTR5, you see that the Ormosia does come alive in a nice manner. It's got a very fun sound. It's colored, yes, true. It's not exactly audiophile grade fidelity, but it's fun. It's nice. It's engaging. It's perfect. I mean, I wouldn't say that this would be an IEM for you to use to the gym because it's going to fall off, but it's fine for you to take your afternoon walks in the park, or just, you know, enjoy when you travel by plane. It is fine. It is absolutely fine. There's nothing offensive about it. What then is, and obviously I'm saying this, that there must be something that is working against it. What is that works against it? Well, in my opinion, is its price, and it's the fact that you have such a competitive market, and also that those competitors are equally, if not more capable than the Ormosia. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with the first one, the TA1 Max. The TA1 Max is what the TA series should have been from the beginning, and it's again a fun sounding V signature, but it's when compared to the Ormosia, although there's a lot of similarities in the mids and in the extension, it's in the bass and in the mid bass that you find that the TA Max is more correct. There's not as much bloat. It's just a tad cleaner, a tad quicker in its execution of the notes, and it just makes it more pleasurable overall to listen to, coupled to the fact that it costs $55. It makes the Ormosia a hard choice to actually want to take. Let's put it that way. Then price for price, the GS Audio. Again, it's not a perfect IEM. It does have some minor flaws. Well, the most significant one is that little peak that it has at 5K, improved upon the original GD3A, but still present. But overall, I mean, this is capable of more audiophile reproduction without question. Vocals are excellent, female vocals especially, very nicely done. Detailed retrieval, all of those things are way superior to the Ormosia, and for the same money, this is, in my opinion, a no-brainer. It's obviously that this is a better choice, coupled to the fact as well that it's got a more standard type shell, which has very much a CIEM kind of feel to it, and it fits well, at least in me, it fits flawlessly. I've got no issues with it. So again, another point against the Ormosia. Okay, and finally, the one that will probably be the better deal out of all of the ones that I've just presented, which is the ST5. And once again, I'm not going to repeat myself, but this is unquestionably the best hybrid that TRN has done so far. Unquestionably. I have absolutely no problems in going as far as saying that this outperforms the backs, if not for any more specific reasons than the fact that it costs a fraction of what the BAX costs. The backs for the hardware that it has, it should be an absolute beast in terms of performance, and should be capable of a performance equal to the Duno EST112, in my opinion, because apparently that's what it was modeled on. They got ideas from that one, that particular IEM to create the backs. And this thing, in my opinion, in terms of bass, way superior to the backs. It's not as overemphasized as the backs is, at least, well, my backs. I'm not sure, and I cannot speak for other backses out there. I just bought one. I mean, $300 odd is not exactly an IEM that you're going to be buying multiples of. And in terms of its mids and cleanliness of the sound and everything, this stands head to head with the backs easily. Even if I consider that the backs has a EST present. So this compared to the Ormosia, and I mean, I don't want to sound mean. I don't want to sound like I'm not giving it its deserved value. It's no comparison. It's basically half the price, or 2/3 of the price of the Ormosia, and it outperforms the Ormosia in every way. So where does this leave us? I mean, you may ask me, and rightfully so. So Akros, what is your opinion? Well, my opinion about the Ormosia is simple. It is decent sounding IEM. It's not offensive. It does nothing wrong, honestly. And its reason, or one of its reasons for being a possible choice, is the fact that, first of all, you like this design. You want to be something. You want to have something which is different. And okay, you like a more darkish sounding IEM. Then yes, then the Ormosia makes sense. If fit design is not something which is your number one on the list, then I've just presented you with other options which are as equally as viable and cheaper. And if sound is the main concern that you have, then well, I'm sorry to say, and again, this is nothing against KBEAR. I mean, they too have been trying as of late as some other HiFi manufacturers to improve the quality of the products, and they have. I mean, the KBEAR Inc. I personally like it. I think it was a valid attempt at getting a little bit of what was the performance of the Believe, but at obviously a fraction of the cost, less than half of the price. And the collaboration that they did now with HVB, with the Kai, is again proof that they are wanting to give us good quality, well-tuned, good sounding IEMs. So yeah, in terms of build quality, it's fine. Accessories, I was a little bit disappointed I didn't get the usual 07 tips in there. Cable could have been a little bit better. I mean, like I said, this is roughly a $100 IEM. And sound, it's like I said, it's not bad, it's not good, and it's not bad. It does nothing wrong. It's a sound that you can get from significantly cheaper IEMs. And if I was to even compare it to a single DD, I'll be very honest. The 7 Hertz Zero is no comparison. 7 Hertz Zero plays way better than the Ormosia. But that, I guess, is a freak. That is something which also is also unusual in the sense that we were not used to having such high quality sounding IEMs at such cheap prices. Anyway, guys, this is my take on the Ormosia. I'll put in the second section, I'll show you the graphs of it and just go through them with you. And as always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please ask away. And I'll see you again in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Hi guys, and welcome to my graph section of the review for the KBEAR Ormosia. And well, we start off straight away with the graph of the Ormosia. And as I said, by looking at the graph, you get one idea, and then when you actually listen to it, you actually find that it's not as bad as it looks. Yes, there is this overemphasis here on the bass area, on the mid bass area here, which does bleed into the mids, and ultimately, yes, it does affect the way mids are reproduced. But look, it's not as bad as it looks here, honestly, and I'm being very honest. One of the IEMs, as I mentioned, that I compared it with was the TA1 Max, and the TA1 Max precisely has controlled that mid-bass bump, so there's less bleed, and then the way the mids are done are also more smoothly. So although both of them have the speaks, the speak at 4 or 5K, it just kind of gets very under the radar, and it's not really that noticeable. The TMX does have a little bit more rumble, which is noticeable, but otherwise they are very similar. But the TA1 does edge out the Ormosia slightly. The other one is the GD3C, which is this graph. Actually, let me just change the color to something more visible. And the GD3C as I mentioned, is well, the same price and beautifully executed bass. I mean, just for the sake of comparison, I mean, this is the Elysian X. Okay, that's the bass of the Elysian X, and as you can see, very similar style of bass execution. And it's one of the things that is very noticeable when you listen to the GD3C, is how good the bass is. Where is its less favorable point is this peak here at 5K. It's been reduced over the GD3A, but it still needs, in my opinion, a little bit of attention. And once this peak here has been taken care of, I think this will be one of the very best 1+2 hybrids available. Nevertheless, I still recommend it because I think it's worthwhile. I really genuinely think it's a good sounding IEM. The other one, which I compared the Ormosia to, and was very favorable in my comparison, or sorry, in my review of it, is the ST5. I mean, beautiful. Honestly, really very nice. I mean, the way the bass is just done, it just smoothly into the bass, doesn't bleed that much, or if nothing, really into the mids. Smooth execution of the upper mids. That dip there at the 5K, 4-5K area, so no sibilance, peak, the coupler related peak. Very nice. Honestly, ST5, well done, TRN, well done. There are, however, well, for the sake of comparison as well, I mentioned the 7Hz Zero, and this is the graph of the 7Hz Zero, and you can see, sorry, not this one, my apologies, 7Hz Zero, this one here. And as you can see, this is an extremely mature tuning, and something that you don't, it wasn't usual to find at this price point. Bass has been beautifully done, beautiful execution of the bass, no mid bass excessiveness. You know, as I mentioned in my review, if anything, just 2 dBs extra would have been the perfect spot for me personally. But otherwise, everything is beautiful. The way the rise of the pin again is done, nice and smooth, peaking at around 3K, you know, plateauing nicely. Beautiful execution. And you listen to the Zero and you're just absolutely blown away by how good it sounds. That's the truth. But there were 2 other IEMs that when I was reviewing that I didn't mention, and my fault. One of them is a hybrid, so it should have been here, and the other one is a single ED. The single ED is the ICO, the OH2, which, I mean, look, that's the graph. It's almost identical in the way the bass and everything is done. And the ICO, the problem with the ICO, again, is kind of a little bit the same problem as the Ormosia, which is the way that the mid bass is emphasized. It just makes things not as clean as we would like in the mids. It's not offensive. It's not that it's going to be, you know, a deal breaker per se, but when you consider that obviously the OH2 costs $70, you have other IEMs which are superior and cost way less. And the other one, which is a hybrid, which I should have actually included, and my apologies for not having done so, is the MS2. And the MS2, as you can see, very similar in the way that it does this whole above 1K area. Very similar, very similar. But where the high-dis really shines is in the way that the bass and the sub-bass is being executed. Smooth, clean, no bleed, beautiful. I mean, beautiful. And this shows itself in how clean the sound is up top. It's also a 1+1, and it's one of those IEMs that you know, unfortunately doesn't get much love, the MS2, which is a pity, mind you. It is a pity. The MS2 is deserving of a bit more attention. It's one of the better IEMs that high-dis has, and well, this graph shows it. Anyway, guys, that's the graph analysis for the Ormosia. It's not a bad IEM, as I mentioned. It's not a bad IEM. I think if perhaps KBEAR addresses this bump here in the mid bass slightly, just drops it slightly and cleans up as well this peak a little bit more, I think that the improvement in the sound will be significant, and the Ormosia will then be more justified its price. As it stands, it is decent, well built, you know, but for the price you have a lot of other options which are better. It's as simple as that. Anyway guys, thank you as usual, and see you guys again soon. Take care.